Hi, I'm Joe,
And I'm Lance, and we're the SAR guys.
and today we're going to talk to you a little bit about something that's a little more serious than what we usually our usual topics. Usually we're talking about our equipment and getting it ready and everything we need to go ready for a search, but we really neglected talking about our physical and mental health. So today
Absolutely.
we're going to talk to you a little bit about mental health, and a class I recently took is what caused me to
Yeah.
initiate this conversation. But we'll get to that as we go along.
Yeah. It's amazing because we can have the best gear in the world, but if
Mhm.
we ourselves aren't prepared for what we're dealing with, then realistically we're the number one tool, right?
Right.
And so everything else is an added bonus to us to help us. So today we wanted to go over some of the causes and some of the indicators, and even how to help you be more resilient is kind of the catchphrase nowadays,
Right.
or just to be able to booster up your mental health so we can deal with the things that we
Hmm.
have to deal with in
Hmm.
search and rescue.
So, Lance, what qualifies you to have this conversation?
Really nothing. I mean, when it comes right down to it, I don't have a degree. I am a chaplain for multiple law enforcement and fire departments. I've been to lots of different classes in that. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a clinician, but I help our first responders. I can't say on a daily basis, but on a weekly basis in one way or another in
Right.
these areas. So,
And from my perspective, you're super qualified for this because it's, you're not the clinician that you're out every day doing that. You're out every day working with the search and rescue people, with the sheriffs and the fire departments
yeah,
and those things. So
yeah,
it's a very nice balance.
yeah.
So anyway, so let's talk a little bit about the causes, and some of the things that we're going to go from
Yeah.
there.
Well, when you look at cause is a difficult one because Joe and I are different. Not because he's short and I'm tall, or not because I'm younger and he's older, but because we're
Sounds
two.
like you're picking on me again.
I'm going to cause stress, and then I'm going to show you how to alleviate it. Right?
Okay, perfect.
No, but we're different people, and so the things that cause me stress are might not cause Joe stress, and the things that cause you stress might not cause me stress. And so the causes are difficult in the fact that it's up to the individual. But in search and rescue, you look at fatigue. If we're going out and we're overexerting ourselves, that can cause that stress level go up. Um, Dealing with different dead bodies and that, no one likes to do it. We can get kind of immune to it, but at the same time it's ratcheting up on the fact that it's stressed out. You have to know that that's a body, that's someone's loved one, and it does something. It does.
It
And
has an impact on
it
you.
does have an impact
Right.
on us, and even if you don't think that it does. And so there's only so much that you can put in your backpack, right? Eventually it doesn't fit, and that's what stress is. And so I kind of made a list um, of different things, but having a long focus time when search and rescue, and you're in a multi-phase search, you're trying to have the clearest focus as you can for a very, very long time. Physically, our vision's not going to be able to last that long, and then our attention and just our person, it takes a lot of effort to be able to have those long focus times. The type of searches, if it's kids, it seems to ratchet up the stress level a little bit. If it's elderly, it seems to ratchet up because those are the ones that we want to get to quicker because they don't last as long realistically in those areas. Team dynamics, we've talked about a lot on our channel. Is if team dynamics aren't meshing, or if there isn't good cohesion in those teams, stress levels of frustration. There's
Mhm.
people on my team, I'll just be honest, I don't want to search with because I don't. Well, just because they stress me out,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of factors there. But love them as people. I just don't want to necessarily go on searches with them, and I try to minimize that because it's just not good for me. Here's an era. Joe and I were talking about this before we started. Is perceived failures. Uh, we go out, we don't find the subject, or we don't complete the mission in our mind to be successful, that weighs on us, right?
It does.
You
It
were
does.
talking about some of the searches that you woke up in the middle of the night going, oh, wait a second.
Exactly.
So,
And that was one where we didn't find the guy for 3-4 months or
Yeah.
more. And the reality was we were right there. I actually took a picture of him,
yeah.
a month before we found him. It was like a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
You had to know that he was there. But actually, I woke up in the middle of the night and realized that I think I'd taken a picture of him because
Yeah.
when we eventually recovered him, I looked across it. I was standing right over there. And I looked at the picture and zoomed in, and sure enough, there he was, plain as day.
Yeah.
And that it bothered me for a very long time.
Absolutely.
But we talk about you get stressed about it, and the reality is that finding him that day or a month later or a month earlier would not have changed the situation one little bit.
The outcome
was exactly the same.
Yeah.
So you have to learn to figure out how to deal with those things and release it, let it go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another cause that I put on there specifically to search and rescue would be an injured team member watching someone go down, whether or not it's superficial injury where it just takes them out of the mission. We've had tweaked knees in that, and it's a bummer because they want to help, but you have to tell them you can't help right now, right? And that's stressful on both parties. Or to the point where someone gets seriously injured, or even death on a search and rescue team. And thankfully, I've never had to deal with that. I hope we never do, but I know that teams do. And so it's going to ratchet up those stress indicators. Lack of personnel. Now, this one, we have a small search and rescue group, and the responders that come, sometimes I don't feel like we have enough.
Right.
And that's frustrating because then what do? Lance Simon says, I have to do more, right? I have to step up to the plate. I got to put forth more effort. I got to push my body further than what I really should. And so what is that? It's just ratcheting.
Right. And you anticipate if you only have 4 or 5 people respond, you've got one team.
Yeah.
And now you have no backup team.
Absolutely.
If something happens to your team or one of your team members, there's not anybody there to help out that way. You're going to be self-sufficient, which we try to be anyway. But just having that in the back of your head causes a little stress.
Yeah. In the fire departments, they call it the RIT team. I can't remember exactly how it's called, but it was always nice going into a house that's burning in that, and that you have a RIT team. So if something bad happens, they're coming to get you.
Right.
But to be part of that RIT team, it's boring. You're waiting, and you're hoping that doesn't happen, right? And so, but can you think of any other stresses?
Oh, not off the top of my head.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I didn't want to miss something. I'm sure we did, but your stresses and think. One is families.
You have a kid, you have parent-teacher conference coming up, or you got to pick your kid up at 4 o'clock, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're thinking about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you tell command, I've got to be done at noon. That becomes a stressor.
Yeah.
Not only for you, but for
Absolutely.
the whole team, because now the person isn't free, and it is reality.
Yeah.
We have people that can respond.
Volunteers, right?
Right. And they have other things that they have to do, but they really want to help for as long as they can.
Yeah.
So that kind of puts a time commitment, and that kind of starts enclosing and tightening things up a little bit. And in some situations, if you're looking for a live person, that can be really stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when time management and knowing your mission's really, really critical. I think weather conditions, that's we had one that ratcheted up the stress. It's the reason why we wear helmets now, is you could watch the alder trees just sit there and sway like 10 feet in both directions. Honestly, looking back at it now, it's like, why in the world were we out there? But,
and the thing that was, one would break and it would sound like a cannon fire. And you hear one crash over there, and you're looking at the trees over you going like this, and then all of a sudden you hear this like crack, and like, oh boy.
I'm thankful that we can laugh about it now because it wasn't very funny then. That's for sure. So no good. So what are some of the red flags, Joe, that we should be looking for? We have team members, but we also need to do some self-reflection of ourselves.
And I think that's the biggest one. I think before you go out, even before you respond, we use active alert, and you say, I'm available. Are you really available?
Yeah.
You have to clear your mind, get all your gear ready, but also plan your day. Who's going to take care of the dog? Who's going to take care of the kids? If you have that concern, are you okay to go?
Yeah.
and you have to get your mind set that everything is okay in my world.
Yeah.
And now let's go out there, and what kind of stresses am I going to face? Is it a recovery? Is it a lost person with dementia? Is it a lost child? Is it just somebody's out mushroom picking, and you're going to find them in short order, and they're going to be goofy, and that's just the way it is. Not all mushroom pickers are goofy, but
trying to figure out where you're going with
a lot of them are. But all those things can actually cause stress for you. Yeah, mushroom pickers I never stress about. We'll go find them eventually. but those kinds of things, the kind of situation you're getting into, and then if you have any damage to your mental health because of I had one recovery I did almost 50 years ago. I was a 10-year-old kid, and it was my first recovery, and it when I was in the Coast Guard. I think about that every time a kid's name is mentioned. I think, okay, this is what we're going into. And I think about it like, okay, I know what happened there. It's not going to happen again. Or it might if it's beyond my control. But mentally, I'm over that. It's not going to hold me up. Whereas somebody might just blank and just freeze. Like, I can't do that. Or another thing, if you're going on a mission where, say it's maybe you're evacuating people for a fire, and you are really afraid of fire. Are you mentally capable to get beyond that and go do what you need to do? Or do you need to just stop and say, no, I can't do this one?
Absolutely.
So those are the, maybe not necessarily red flags, but you need to think about those things.
And I think that's that self-reflection, is we got to understand where our limits are. I lost my brother to suicide, a year and a half ago. And there's times there's no way I was going to function in those areas until I could get myself in a position that it was healthy to do. And so, and I still have to check myself. I know Joe and I talk about it every now and then, and it's part of my sounding board of being able to have. But if you know that you're going out and it's just instantly starting to aggravate you, or you feel that aggression level come up, you should really start thinking about it. It's one of those red flags that why are you getting that way? What's causing these reactions? And is that going to be cohesive to the whole team? And so the other thing is our attention span. Is if you have all this stress, your attention span is going to go slower, because you're going to be like, I'm trying to find those clues, but I'm thinking about all this. I'm trying to find the clues. I'm thinking about all this, and it's just constantly going back and forth, right? And so your attention span gets going, and you watch the people, they might just physically, they're there, but they're just zoned out. They're just, it's like lights on, but no one's home. In the Marine Corps, we called it that mild long stare, just they're out there, and it's like, hello, and we need to recognize that in ourselves, but also in our teammates. The not being able to stay on task, always trying to bounce to the next thing. It's they want it quick and done and precise, and just go on. And I think the last two things is those that start becoming recluse. You don't see them at trainings, you don't see them on missions, they're just kind of checked out, and it's important to reach out to those search members and say, hey, how you doing? We're not here to judge, we miss you, right? I know our team has a set of standards that we're supposed to be at so many missions and so many trainings and that. But if you start not noticing that people aren't showing up, or certain people aren't showing up, find out why, and it might not be that, that their schedule's too busy right now because we're volunteers. It happens. It might be the fact that, that last call kind of is playing with them a little bit heavier than what they expected it to. So,
another one is when people are going out on the mission and, oh man, it's one of those mushroom pickers. They don't belong out here. What are we doing? Why are we wasting our time looking for this person? As soon as you challenge that, it's like, okay, that's a red flag. That's a big red flag for me, because I signed on to do search and rescue, and it doesn't matter, who it is, what it is. It's the military background. They give you an assignment, and here I go. And whatever it is, it might be fun. It might not be fun. It might be horrible. And it might be a horrible outcome. It might be a great outcome. Whatever it is, that's your assignment. Go do it. And if you don't feel like you can do that, you feel like, this guy's an idiot. He's a drug doper, or he's a, this or that or the other thing, or some scumbag that you just don't
Yeah.
want to deal with. It's like they're still a person,
Yeah,
and somebody loves that
absolutely.
person. And and our
Absolutely.
job, our mission, our assignment is to go find them. That's what we
Yep.
do. And
Yep.
if you have any resistance to that, it's like, I don't want to do this. Let's go home. Trying to shorten up the
Yeah.
mission. You have an objective to go someplace, and all the way up there you hear, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. This is, my back's killing me.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, why did you come?
Yep.
And it may get to the place where you just have to take your team and turn around and say, okay, this isn't going to work. Our team dynamics are in jeopardy right here because we have this one person that is really not ready to go. They're not green. And you heard us talk about green and yellow and red, and that's SAR guard, we call it. If you're green, you're ready to go. Here, everything. Yellow, there's something going on. I can deal with it, but we'll move on. And red is, we can't move on any further. And if you have a person on your team, that's being that negative and doing all that, your team becomes red.
But we always associate that with the physical side, right?
Right.
And I'm glad that you're bringing that out, because really, it's the emotional and the psychological side that is going to affect us that you're talking about. And so, absolutely, I think, how do we minimize it? How, and I want you to talk about that class.
Yeah. So
absolutely awesome.
One of the ways to minimize it is to be self-aware, and a lot of us think that we're self-aware. Yeah, I know all about myself. I recently took a class from Mountain Rescue Association. It's mra.org, and they have courses that anybody can take. And one is psychological first aid. And I took that class, and it was wow. These are people that are rescuers. They describe missions. They show missions. There's different videos about how it all works, and they know what they're talking about. Again, one gal's a clinician, and I'm not good with names, so I forgot it. But when I took the class, it made me more self-aware. It made me realize the stages of what they used to call PTSD. They aren't calling that anymore, but it's mental health, and the different stages, everything from ready to mental illness. And it's mental illness. It's not a disability or it's an illness that can be corrected, and there's steps that you do to get there. And you can look at that and go, okay, where am I in the process? Am I ready to go? Am I reacting? Do I have an injury? Do I have a mental health injury? Do I have mental health illness? And that class really helped. I'll put a link to it down below and a card up above.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, if you are a searcher, chances are you are, if you're watching this channel, if you do this, I encourage you. It's one of those things that I think it's a must-have in your toolbox to be able to go and do what we're doing. And we're going to encourage our whole team to look at this and get on board with it. But also, if you are feeling that stress, then go out and let's actively do something about it. Find a sounding board. Have someone to talk to. A lot of times, Joe and I will use each other, and there's other people that I'll talk to, and it's not that I'm going to Joe for words of wisdom to help me. It's just to be able to offload. Say, here's a friend that I can just kind of, emotionally dump on, and just go blah. And it helps. It helps get that out. Go out and find an activity, right, that's not associated with the stress. And first responders will go out and they'll be shooting guns and stuff, or they'll volunteer for another fire department. It's like, that's not helping, that's adding to. And so find something that's disconnected with the activity that's causing stress.
Well, and part of it is to realize that you are stressed.
Yeah.
Sometimes people, you just go out and you're just uptight and everything. You have to recognize that you are stressed, and then actively figure out how you're going to relieve that stress. Really, it sounds silly, but say, okay, today I'm going to go for an extra long walk. I'm going to go out to the gun range and shoot a gun. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Whatever it is, figure out, say, okay, I need to do this for myself so that I'm prepared to go on the next mission. And I know that I need to get from here to here mentally so that I'm ready for the next mission.
Yeah, and exercise is a great one. I know I'm not the pillar of great health, but solid foods. I mean, eating correctly, having healthy, balanced meals, it helps your body to be able to take those stress hormones and flush them through your body. Exercise is great. Going out and just being around people. Find people that you actually enjoy being around. Uh, Maybe you're one that is into yoga or meditation processes. Those work. I'm a pastor, so my religious side, I depend on that very heavily. And so religious activities that you have there, and everybody's a little bit different in the things that they need to be able to help. But you have to keep working, right? You got to
Right.
find what's going to help you.
Right.
And I think the key ones is the exercise, the having the sounding board, being able to talk to someone, and food, just
Yeah.
eating correctly and
Yeah.
helping yourself, because we don't want to turn to the drugs and alcohol. We don't want to turn to the things that are going to dampen it. We want to fix it. And honestly, if you can't minimize it yourself, go see someone. A lot of our agencies, I don't know about your agencies, but they have like the EAP program, the
Employee
Action Assistance Program. Yeah. And a lot of that is 100% confidential. They don't even know that you're using it. Go and do that and seek out help.
Right. And the reality is, it says employee assistance program. Volunteers are employees. In my previous life, I was an educator at a very high level, and we had a lot of volunteers there that used all of the employee things, and we actually had some issues and went to court and all this. And the courts say volunteers are a class of employee, and on our search and rescue team, they refer to us as hiring employees, and letting go. And so you are entitled to all those things, and that includes, if you need some help that's going to cost a lot of money, our agency has insurance that pays for that kind of stuff, and you're entitled to it, because of the work that you do. So one of the things I like to do, I joined search and rescue because I like to be out in the woods. I love being in the woods. And what I realized after a while, after a year or two of being in search and rescue, was the only time I was going into the woods was when we were on a search. And what I found, one of the things that helped me out a lot was, if I was out on a search that might take a day or two and we're out in the woods and it had a bad outcome and it negatively impacted me, I would go back out in the woods and just go out and enjoy the woods. Take the dog for a walk, or go out and just self-talk, and just enjoy the nature and the beauty, and be out there for the recreation part of it instead of always being out there for the bad stuff. In fact, when I was in the Coast Guard, so many bad things happened out in the ocean that when I finally got out, I swore myself I would never go on the ocean again. And it took about 10 years before I actually would get on a boat and go out in the ocean again. And now I'm out there 3 or 4 days a week.
But say, how many boats do you have?
But the reality is that you need to enjoy that. You need to not make that a bad place for you. Don't avoid it anymore, because all of a sudden only bad things happen there.
There's a culture shift that has gone on, or is going on, in many of the agencies and departments that we assist. The idea of, you just suck it up, you just deal with it. That's a very old and outdated mentality, because they've lost a lot of first responders to that. Now it's get some help. The goal, I believe, of every agency should be that they're going to return the volunteer to the family better, or at least as good as they came to you, right? Unfortunately, physically, we usually do that. Emotionally and psychologically, I'm not sure if that's always the case, and it's something that we definitely need to do better. And that's the reason why I think that we have this. And so one of the things that help is have the courage to be able to do that self-talk, that self-reflection. Go stand in the mirror and talk to yourself, or however
that would be
you want
scary.
to do it.
Lance, that would be really scary to me.
I do that. And I know that's weird, but it's one of the things that helps me. I have to look at myself in the eyes and say, hey, you need help, man. And it gives me the courage to go out there. But it's also to have the courage to say, Joe, this is what I see. I love you, man. But these are the things that are bothering me, and have that conversation, that tough conversation. I found in all my training that people want that. That the research shows that they're waiting for someone to say, hey, you need help. And that's what gives them the courage, because now they got a battle buddy to say, I'm willing to see you through this help.
Right.
And
we do that on our missions. At least in our team, I think we're very good about that. Even when we go out there, before we go, if we know it's going to be a bad recovery, at least on my team, I always ask people, are you okay with
Yeah.
this? Can you handle this? When we get there, even on the last one we did, it was like, okay, we're only going to send in 1 or 2 people that need to do the
Yeah.
work to load the person up.
Yeah.
The rest of us stay back, and only the 1 or 2
Yeah.
people who want to do it.
Minimize the
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like if you
Minimize
don't
the
need to
trauma.
see it, you don't need to see
Yeah.
that, you don't need to be there. We're not going to put you
Yeah.
there. And then afterwards, we've had some where we had new people say, you know, I've never done this. I kind of want to. Say, okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to stand back and watch.
Yeah.
And if you feel like you can move in and help, you do that.
Yeah.
But if not, you move back out. And then
Yeah.
as a follow-up, as we're walking back, how you doing? Are you okay? After the mission's over, we get back to command. How you doing? You okay? That night, call them at home.
Yep.
Next day or two, call them. Hey, how you doing?
Yep.
Just checking up on you. Want to
Yep.
make sure you're okay.
Absolutely.
And you get all kinds of different responses. I've had everything from "I'll never do that again" to that really didn't bother me. And I felt good about being able to
Yeah.
help the family to get closure on
Yeah,
this.
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And what a awesome thing to have. It's okay not to be okay, right?
yes, absolutely.
It's okay to say, you know what, Joe, not today, man.
Yeah.
I've had those missions. They're like, hey, Lance, are you going? And I'm like, no. Or I got the phone call of, you said that you're unavailable, but I know you're available. And it's like, I can't do it.
Right.
know?
And that's because they
Yeah.
can't see in your head.
Absolutely.
They know what's going on in here.
And so that 2-minute conversation, it led to, the follow-up later of, Lance, what's up? And then we had that conversation. They're like, oh, I wasn't connecting that. And it was good that I wasn't there,
Right.
So debriefs are a big thing. There's different types of debriefs. There's tactical debriefs that's going to say, hey, what we did that was good and what was bad. And then there's
Mechanically. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And then there's the kind of the emotional debrief of, where's everybody at? And are we doing okay? And how did you feel during this? And give the people, and what it is giving the people the opportunity to open up. And it's amazing how many people will open up, because we're a family, we're a team. And what really sets the tone is leadership. If leadership buys into this, it's amazing how the team will buy into this. And so I encourage you to have a solid debrief. Most agencies have like a CISM team, a critical incident stress management team, or a trauma team and stuff like that. So I encourage you to have that. In those debriefs, I do encourage that we don't want to cause vicarious trauma. It's not a time to go into every last little detail, because the person that didn't want to see it is now going to formulate everything that they didn't want to see in their head. And so that's causing them trauma. And so you need to make sure that the players that are at the debrief are the ones that need to be there. And if you need to have 2 different debriefs for 2 separate cultures of people, then do that.
Right. And then one of the things that's real important in a debrief as well is for the truth to be told.
Yes.
Don't hold anything back.
No.
Don't need to say gory details,
No.
but you need the whole truth.
Yeah.
What happened? How did it happen?
Yeah.
What did we do? How did we do?
Yeah.
We got back. What happened? Because if you don't tell people what happens, they're gonna, like you said, in their head, they're gonna create it.
Yep.
And they're gonna imagine all kinds of things that
Facts.
that are not facts, but they really, if they have the facts, then they don't have to make
Yep.
anything up in their head.
Absolutely.
And they don't have to imagine what could have been or might have been. It's like, this is what it was.
Yep.
And so that's very clear.
What's that? Facts, nothing but the facts.
Nothing but the facts. And then have a plan.
Yeah.
You have a plan for what you're going to do next time that's the same, what you're going to do that's different. Have a plan for follow-up, for mental health, for if somebody needs that. Have a plan for just, let's go out and let's go for a walk. Let's go for a hike. Let's go play catch or something.
Yeah.
Just have a plan about what the next step is. Don't walk away from the debrief wondering what's next.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So again, we encourage you, reach out if you need help. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to put, there's several different agencies that help with mental health. There's an agency called the Blue Line for law enforcement. I believe that there's a Red Line, or anyways, we'll have those tags in the description. Reach out. If you're having thoughts of suicide or self-harm in that, reach out. There's someone that's there to help you. If you're having a hard time with these images, don't let another day go by. Reach out and ask for help, because that's that's what's going to help you help someone else in the long run. I tell people, they're like, hey, wait, we didn't see you for like 6 months. And it's like, yeah, if I'm going to be a helper, I need to help myself first, right? And
Right.
so it was making sure that I had myself lined out before I could help someone else. And so uh, I hope this helped. And our goal is that you can learn a little bit from here. And if we can get you in the avenue to help you out, then so be it.
All right. Well, take care, and we hope to see you out on the trail.
Have a good one.